Good day to everyone joining us, and welcome to today's X-Talks webinar. Today's talk is entitled Unlocking Internal Workforce Potential at Scale with AI. My name is Ryan Muse, and I'll be your X-Talks host for today. Today's webinar will run for approximately 60 minutes, and the webinar is designed to be interactive, and they work best when you get involved. So please feel free to submit your questions and comments for our speakers throughout the presentation using the questions chat box, and we'll try to attend to them during the presentation. This chat box is located in the control panel, which is on the right-hand side of your screen. And if at any time you require any assistance, you can also contact me by sending a message using this same chat panel. At this time, know that all participants are in listen-only mode, and please note that the event will be recorded and made available for streaming on xtalks.com. At this point, I'd like to thank Eightfold AI, who developed the content for this presentation. Eightfold AI delivers the talent intelligence platform, the most effective way for organizations to retain top performers, upskill and reskill the workforce, recruit top talent efficiently, and reach diversity goals. Eightfold AI's true deep learning artificial intelligence platform empowers enterprises to turn talent management into a competitive advantage. I'd now like to introduce our speakers for today's event. Chloe is a leader in Deloitte's human capital practice, bringing more than 15 years of consulting experience with global clients, focusing on life sciences and working across pharma, medical device, and consumer health. She partners with her clients to simplify complex talent and organizational challenges driven by the future of work. Her core expertise includes strategic work redesign, next-gen talent strategy, culture transformation, and leadership alignment. Bernd has gained extensive experience as an expert in the context of employer branding, recruitment marketing, and sourcing, and sees this as part of the overall view of talent sources for global organizations. With his passion for data-driven and evidence-based talent management systems, he pushed new technologies based on artificial intelligence, machine and deep learning for human resource at Bayer. Every person deserves the right career at the right time. For years, with strategic thinking and experimentally pragmatic solutions, the HR manager with strong business orientation is known as a curious and self-motivated team player and networker. He acts as a digital expert and driver for AI and chatbot-based solutions, and many know him as a rebel, either highly valued and appreciated or as an uncomfortable change driver for encrusted organizational structures. Mihir Gandhi is the Vice President of Marketing, where he oversees product marketing and innovation. Prior to this role, Mihir started and built the professional services, support, and training teams at Eightfold. Mihir came to Eightfold from Lyft, where he was the General Manager for California and Director of Operations. Mihir is passionate about talent and has scaled several hyper-growth companies by developing non-traditional talent and focusing on what candidates are capable of accomplishing. And so now, without further ado, I would like to hand the mic over to our first speaker, Mihir Gandhi. You may begin when you're ready.
Thanks so much, Ryan. Chloe, Baron, great to be here with you today. Audience members, thank you so much for your time. I am looking forward to a very lively discussion. As Ryan mentioned, please do use the chat function, and we'll keep this as interactive as possible. There's a lot of ground to cover today, so let's get right into it. Baron, I'd love to start with you. And kick it off. You know, most people know Bayer as a pharma company, but Bayer is so much more. And so, for the context and scale of this conversation, can you give us a sense of the size, diversity, businesses, and geographies that Bayer actually covers?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the invite and nice warm welcome from Germany. So it's quite late here in the afternoon, but it's an honor to be here. So Bayer is originally founded in 1963, so more than 150 years ago, as a dye stuff company, so producing colors. At the moment, Bayer is very also well known for aspirin as a leading product. And at the moment, we would say we have made a long transformation, and Bayer is now a global enterprise with core competencies in the life science and also in nutrition. Our products and services are designed to benefit people by supporting effort to overcome the major challenges by a growing, aging global population. And we address most of some of the most pressing global challenges and continue to develop new solutions. The population is constantly growing, so our our customers, our patients, and farmers, and this age is increasing, and that's why we take the mission, and you can see it here on that side. No, it's a mission: the health for all and hunger for none. At the same time, the group increases in earning our values through innovation and growth, and Bayer is committed to the principle of also sustainable development. And at the moment, we are employing around roughly 104,000 employees worldwide. Our sales is above 43 billion a year, and we're spending more than 7% only on R&D, which is core, because science for a better life helps us to make those products. And honestly, I'm also very excited that Bayer is now stepping in the market of vaccine for the COVID-19, and we will become a producer of that one. This makes me also a little bit proud for my company, because that's a quite new area for Bayer as a drug company to produce also vaccines.
You know, it's interesting as you describe the breadth and sort of the evolution of Bayer over the past century plus. And as we talked earlier, you're not around for that long without being highly innovative. And I guess the buzzword for innovation now is transformation. And we've talked about it from a business perspective, but there's also a talent transformation component here. And I'd love for you to talk about what transformation means, because the word does get tossed around a lot. And so what does it mean to you as the boots on the ground that actually has to do transformation?
Honestly, Bayer is transforming since 150 years. Yeah, so we develop innovations to transform. And I would say in the last 15 years, I got that number last time from our CEO. We have so much transformed. So we sold companies and parts in Covestro or Lanxess, so basic chemicals and material science business. We sell out. We make spin-off out of that. And we bought also companies, and we merged and growed also from the market. We bought, Merck consumer health products back in the 1914, or we bought Sharing, a German company. We acquired Monsanto 3 years ago. So overall, in the last 15 years, roughly 70% of our workforce were transformed because by spin-off and spin out all these. And this keeps HR, as I'm a part of HR, always challenged, and not only are these company changes, also the market are changes in the life science business, and the customer are changing, and we have to adopt these changes accordingly. And Bayer, I would say, needs to also transform then our talent base. That is one of the things we are driving in HR since years. And these raise also the questions how we can orchestrate the flow of skills and capabilities within the companies. And that is one of our main focus areas in HR.
Yeah, it's interesting, as you describe the businesses as verticals and you're describing the skills as horizontals, and then, the addition and subtraction of multiple businesses, how do you see, how do you see that impacting talent acquisition and talent really retention and management across departments or across business units and geographies?
Yes, that's a great question, and I would say we can have multiple dimensions in that one. So even the focus of HR for skill flow is first to get an overview: where are our skills? And what are our skills? Even to have a better information about what is our company capable of. And there's also two aspects that we achieve and why we introduce AI technologies in that kind of topics. And the second topic is that we are not thinking also in traditional positions and people moving around the company. We're also thinking beyond that one. So the kind of how agile we can do our workforce, and there we're exploring cross divisions and cross country options for project marketplace, not only people moving around from one position to another one. So where we also see how we can move skills for smaller or larger projects, just an assignment, not a deployment, right? And therefore also we are stepping in the area of a talent intelligent platform, which only gives us the opportunity to perform such kind of ideas. And that helps not only the business in the demand of staffing project, but also the talents or the employees with assignment to projects to grow and to really develop also more skills and additional new opportunities.
You know, it's interesting. You know, what you talk about is internal mobility being such a heavy lift for an employee. It's a big thing to take a new job. It's a heavy commitment, and what you're talking about is almost bite-sized type opportunities that map to their career aspirations and sort of the business strategy. And Chloe, you know, you've been central and co-authored so many, you know, frankly, riveting reads with Deloitte, at least for those of us who are HR tech nerds and HR nerds. And I'm curious, you know, you guys have been at the forefront of innovation. You've been studying this for a long time. What's transforming with the way that workers or employees are approaching work, and how, as Baron's describing, how employers are helping try to meet employees with what their new needs are?
Yeah, well, I think there's two major forces that are at play. If you think about it, what companies and what your employers need today is changing very rapidly. And so this pace of change that is really triggered by innovation and the new product that companies like Bayer or other pharmaceutical companies have to bring to market is increasing dramatically. And that requires for employers to be extremely dynamic in the way they are going to source talent, bring talent to the forefront, and really bring the right skill and the right mindset and the right capabilities to really contribute to delivering growth, innovation, and quite frankly, deliver on the top and bottom line of the employers. But there is also another force that's happening at the same time, is expectation of employees are changing also very fast. And so people are expecting very different things from their career. They want to find purpose, they want to find passion, they want to be able to collaborate and contribute. And so with these two forces at play, it creates both a lot of pressure on HR organization, on employers, on employees to become extremely dynamic and nimble and being able to quickly adapt the type of job that they are offering in the marketplace and the type of skills and the type of profile that employee maintain for themselves. So we see these two forces really at play across every single industry. I spend a lot of time with life sciences, consumer health, medical device, where we see that happening every day. And so, you know, when traditionally you would hire someone that would be a brand manager coming from an MBA that will do a 20-year career, you know, within a specific brand product. Now companies and employers are looking for hybrid worker that can bring together deep technology understanding, that understand the marketplace, that have passion, that are driven by purpose, that understand, you know, financial requirement and business requirement, but it's really changing extremely rapidly. And so the rise of technology and the promise of platform like AI, eightfold AI, is really what's bridging these two worlds, the changing expectation of employer, the changing profiles of employee, and really delivering on the promise of fast innovation and growth for companies.
You know, it's so interesting. I had the good fortune of being in Abbott's rotational program. So I spent some time in their venture capital group on medical devices, some time in medical optics, and some time in Abbott Vascular. And so I was able to see a breadth of a diversified healthcare business. But that was through a very formalized program, right? It was because there was a structure in place that enabled me to do that and to engage in that. And you used a word, Chloe, a couple times that I thought was really interesting. You said expectation, like employee expectation. And I think in the past, there's always been a desire and a hope to be able to explore new things, but no set framework or capability to help the employee find those opportunities, or the employer to actually help pull the employee along. And that expectation is becoming much more of a true expectation. You expect your organization to deliver this for you. And so, Baron, can you talk a little bit about the challenges that stopped you from doing something like this before, and maybe talk a little bit about why technology is enabling you to do that now?
Well, what was stopping us in the future, and I can echo what Chloe was mentioning, we was lacking first the transparency of the existing skills in our employee base. And given the complexity of transformation, the second topic is to have necessary flexible tools that help us, and even with the help of AI, to understand career paths and development of talents in the context of their tasks, and offer the people involved who are working on talent and movements and skills, even also database decision-making support. Yeah, right. Transparency. And if you see a company as Bayer in 87 countries, we have employees all over the world, how we can really get a grip on that one. Right.
So There's something here about the mindset of an organization to enable this kind of capability, right? So can you help us understand, of course, this mindset has been there at Bayer for a long time, but when did that mindset around talent transformation actually happen? And it has to start at the top. And so can you describe, you were obviously a part of it, so can you help describe how that happened and then how that germinated through your process of finding a technology
Absolutely.
that can aid your goals?
Absolutely. One is the ability and the knowledge of what is right and the best and the most efficient way to transform talents and skills. But the other way is to apply this way systematically from a leadership perspective, right? The entire journey we have experienced in our digitization of HR and getting AI and deep learning in the mind of the talent management professionals is a journey, honestly. It's nothing which you can switch on and off. Or off, switch on, right? It can only work fast, and if it's a core task of the transformation in a modern change management approach, discussing with people who are skeptical, breaking through outdated thinking patterns, which is quite important, and winning also some brave pioneers in some specific areas in the top management really helps us as multipliers enormously. In addition to well-structured and also continuous communication, it also takes a large amount of energy, honestly, and time to make such transformation possible. It's nothing which you can do easily. And even if you have a deep learning or the engine and then the AI does not know all. So it has to be trained and have to learn from the actions which we are performing in the system.
You said something interesting when we were talking last week about the upside being grossly misunderestimated and the potential downside of taking a risk being vastly sort of overstated. So, change management is hard. There are some brave pioneers, but then the reality is, and I'd love for you to talk about how you guys came to that conclusion, that there's far more upside of trying something new than there is downside of trying something new.
Yeah, honestly, yes. There are a lot of downsides, and you have to work with that downsides. But there are some lights at the tunnel, even if you have only reached 5 or 10% of the first steps. But it helps you dramatically if you can then get back to our KPIs and see also the proof of concept works, and that is a part where we have the really show on.
Yeah, there's these, you talk about these sort of ingrained modalities of thinking around trajectories or career paths. And that's even within full-time employees. Chloe, you've done a lot of work beyond just full-time employees, right? It's internal talent, external talent, contingent talent. And really, these lines are starting to blur, especially in a post-pandemic or a pandemic recovery environment. So can you talk a little bit about sort of the flow of skills and the unlock of skills across the total workforce and total talent?
Yeah, I think what is interesting, it's a concept that's not new, right? Having external talent as part of your workforce or that contributes to delivering value for an organization, it's something that, a lot of organizations have experimented with for a very long time, but very often that was associated with a productivity or a cost efficiency measure. And so we would often see things like offshoring of certain capability, shifting the responsibility on certain tasks that would be extremely repetitive, extremely specific and framed to be part of an external ecosystem. I mean, there are, very large organizations that do, contingent worker and that have always been collaborating with any kind of organization. I think what we're seeing today is that the nature of the collaboration with the external ecosystem is changing. And we're not looking at it just as a pure cost play or pure productivity play. We're seeing the partnership in broad talent ecosystem becoming also something that touches every single aspect of the value chain for organization. It could be a partnership around strategy, and we've seen that a lot, with the rapidity around the COVID vaccine with certain companies, where a lot of it has been done in partnership between organizations, where it could be talent from a university, startups coming together, working with large pharmaceutical consortium to bring a product very rapidly to market. So we're seeing that concept of talent ecosystem becoming something that goes beyond the boundaries of the traditional kind of contingent workforce to really becoming a understanding what is the right source of talent to deliver value, to contribute to an outcome, to contribute to a project. And so that's something that's been really expanding the boundaries of talent ecosystem and marketplace. Now, what is really interesting is that there is obviously, you were talking about risk before, there is risk aversion, right? And so there is a lot of things related to who owns IP. How do you protect intellectual property? How do you protect data? How do you create the right, safeguard around data when you're going to collaborate on sometimes very sensitive information, very confidential project with a broad talent ecosystem? And so these are things that our clients and that organizations are experimenting with, are trying to find new ways to partner with a broader sense of talent that are not going to be the traditional full-time employee, the contingent worker, for, again, the traditional type of outsourcing of work that we've seen in the past, but really thinking about it as the full kind of opportunity across the value chain. And so that's something that's really interesting. We are seeing, again, a lot of different type of collaboration. We are seeing a lot of different models emerging, and it really depends on, the appetite for organizations to experiment, to sometimes lower their risk tolerance, and to sometimes really have the right guardrail in place to deal with some of the compliance data and IP challenges that they're facing.
It feels like we could have another webinar talking about the indirect byproducts of this type of democratized talent ecosystem as you're talking about it. And so I will save that actually topic for another conversation, because I do think it's important, especially in IP heavy and patent heavy environments like life sciences. As people start to experiment with new technologies, new ways of thinking about talent ecosystems, Chloe, how do you see the measurement for success? Because the risk aversion is somewhat rooted in ROI. What is the return going to be for the investment that we're making, not just from a dollar perspective, but also from a change management, rollout, et cetera, perspective. And so I'd love for both of you actually to help understand how ROI is being assessed against some of these, maybe sometimes more qualitative or cultural capabilities.
It is. I mean, it's also, if I look at the trajectory that Bayer has had and that Bernd was describing, I mean, the return on investment for organizations today is really about continued and sustained innovation and growth. And what is really interesting is, there is capital equipment, there is things that come into play, there's technology that comes into play of innovation. But if you really go at the core of how you drive innovation in an organization, any organization, it's really to people. People, your talent, are really the fuel of your innovation. And so being able to get the right talents and the right kind of collaboration across team and really sourcing the right expertise to continue to drive innovation and growth within your portfolio is really what is the measure of success of this new talent approach and this new talent model. And very often, I think historically we've associated talent measure and talent performance with things related to productivity or cost efficiency. And I think we're really pivoting now the dialogue to really associating talent and talent value with really true driver of innovation and growth within organization. There is an aspect of it which is really understanding, again, do you have the right skills? Do you have the right capability to deliver against the product and the innovation that you're trying to bring to market? There is also a big part of it that's related to the mindset, the culture, the type of teaming environment that you're creating where you can really truly unleash your talent potential. And that's the intangible, that's the qualitative aspect of measuring ROI is, again, do you have the right environment so that your talent can unleash their full potential and really bring the full value to the organization?
Baron, it's so spot on. Like, how do you know it's working, and how did you sell that through the organization?
Especially in our current changes we are driving in the last year together with our no technology approaches, we decided to measure the results and the parameters of the change in a meaningful way. So business value is core at the moment. KPIs helps us in the evaluation of questions about the status before and after. So seeing what has done before and how it's not working. And we are also very transparent to our Bayer business and challenge ourselves. That is quite important. We measure the impact and efficiency of the HR function to the Bayer business, and how we ensure that we do create really sustainable value. In the last 3 years, for instance, so between 2018 and 2020, we have already increased the internal hiring ratio from about 15% to 30% today, which is really a huge impact because that's following our direction. And even there's, if you create it in numbers, it's really impressive. And this is the first indicators that the technology is helping to identify the skills needed for a particular position or a particular project internally better than we have done in the past. So in the past, simply post and pray and hire externally, and that's done. We will continue to build on these paths to achieve the people target for our future.
Yeah, so I want to go a little bit deeper. There's actually an audience question that talks about, there seems like so much on talent transformation that you can start with, or that you can bite off. How do you go from small to medium to large, or crawl, walk, run? How did you phase that out at Bayer?
Paid it out, or so I don't know what this company is from, the question coming from. So we are thinking in a large and very complex environment. So complex market, complex products, complex situation, even cross country. As you know, there's a starting point in the last year, which was no, in 2019. Sorry, we made a test or an experiment and pilot together with Eightfold, and set clear success criteria. So only for a small pilot in one country, end-to-end recruiting perspective, in one country with only talent movements, and we measured these KPIs in detail, and we was able to explain, in addition to a positive KPI outcome, that these AI technology, these enabler, can provide us really business value solutions in the future, topics that we could not reach with our old legacy environment or applications. Of course, we've also learned that working with AI technologies will take us a long transformation journey. So there's nothing which you can buy and it's done, and needs a lot of energy for change management. But for Bayer in 2020, it was the right step to step in a future-oriented time, because when is the right time to start with that? Better earlier than later.
I want to go a little bit deeper on this, because this is interesting. You talk about it as a journey, and there's no magic solution. You don't implement a technology and we're all done, right?
Yeah.
And so can you talk a little bit about that journey, where you guys are and where you see Bayer going in the next 5 or 10 years from this foundation?
So I have not my glass ball with me. Honestly, I'm seeing the vision, and the vision for us is really leveraging more internal capabilities than hiring from externally, because that is always transformation, and there's something which we have in our goals. And I would say, it's a long-term view, and we have a vision. So a vision that the right skill at the right time have to be at the right spot. So that is a vision. And this is also not only employees, we're talking about also leveraging the contractor world, and Bayer has more than 100,000 contractors all over the world. And if we have a business or a project and we have to identify there is a skill need and demand, then there is a total talent view we have to see, and how we can use now our talent brokering expertise coming from HR recruiting. Now we are talent brokering, decide what is now the best and the valuable way sustainably for that specific option. And there are so many data points and so many information. Without I would say applicable solution, you will fail. So for the long-term view, you need to work with those data and make them the best data-driven decision for the business.
Question from the audience again. How do you identify the brave pioneers? And I think some of the context on this question might be, this cannot be done by HR alone. This has to be a cross-functional effort. You have to find those brave pioneers. So how do you even identify them and then have them become your champions?
Well, I would say one point is have a good network internally. So know who is in the company, who are stakeholders, who are having enough power to make decisions, and then deliver on the first pioneers or pilots, first results, and bring them in that discussion and showcase by the end what is the opportunity by stepping in those kind of a journey. And really, there was so many nice stories which really senior top managers from the first layer was approaching me very late in the afternoon saying, I have an additional question, can you check with me together the system and give me more insights. And even it was a very positive thing, because once you showcase what is now able to with the power of real AI, they will be blown away, because they have never done that kind of stuff before in our legacy HR solutions, you know.
Yeah, Chloe, this is I think it's so interesting because we talk about talent transformation broadly with respect to the way that we engage talent within a talent ecosystem, but there's also a transformation internally. Talent transformation is not an HR problem; it's a business imperative. And so, from your seat and from the research that you've done, can you talk about where the need and desire for talent transformation begins? Does it typically originate in HR? Does it originate from a business need? And then how does it germinate across across an organization?
I think going back to your question earlier around transformation, I think what we like to play around is to say basically any transformation is a workforce transformation. If you don't have at the core of how you're going to drive your vision, a true understanding of how you're going to bring people along the journey, how you're going to get the right talent to support that effort, and create the right team to really drive success of your transformation effort, there's a high chance that it's not going to go anywhere. And so I think trying to find the leaders within an organization, and when we work with our clients, regardless of the entry point, it could be acquisition of a new company, it could be the implementation of a new HR system, it could be a digital transformation of a whole area of a business. Like we need to bring that people and that workforce transformation aspect to the forefront and make sure that if HR is at the table, the business is at the table. If the business leaders are at the table, the HR teams are at the table as well. So it becomes a dialogue around how do you drive true transformation of your business through your people, and how any people effort or any people transformation needs to be anchored in achieving the business objective as well. And we see that time and time over again. If it's siloed within a function, and if there are not the right coalitions around the table to really bring that integrated view, that's where transformation fails. That's where project fails, is that there is not that integrated way of thinking about transformation and business objectives.
It's like talent data are the currency of business innovation, right? I mean, and
Absolutely.
You can no longer think of talent or HR as a support or service function, but truly as a partner to help drive some of that business innovation. And as we think about the importance of talent data, Baron, a question from the audience: have you tied or integrated Eightfold into your ERP or HRIS in any way? Or do you have plans to? So maybe just talk about what that data infrastructure looks like a little bit, and what the workflow looks like, because it is, Chloe just mentioned introducing new systems and introducing something like an Eightfold. Can you talk a little bit about what that looks like?
Yeah, sure. So we decided to do not replace our current ATS or our current HRIS, so that is still in place, and there's a bi-directional data exchange between the technologies. And we used our legacy system as a system of truth, and then we have a system of intelligence and a system of engagement, which then is a new technology which we are using. And the integration is quite important, and it's also a technical challenge, for our IT guys. It was is it really working? So cloud solutions have to be connected, and the data flow have to be guaranteed, and then still is done, and it's working properly. And I do not see that we have to replace something. There are some of the solutions we can get rid of, so we do not need anymore. Candidate relationship management was a special one which we have used as an add-on on ATS. We can use and save that license cost, because that is built in the solution. And but there are some things which we do not have before. So interview scheduling is not having been done before. So it's an add-on, and where we see also a lot of benefits out of that, and had a good KPI. And there was one story, sorry, this is a little bit out of the context, which comes in my mind as there was a discussion with one stakeholder at the starting point where the decision was done. It was a funny decision for me, and I was discussing with him, and I used a comparison. So when I went on vacation to a new place by car, it was just 25 years ago. I didn't have car navigation, so I just have studied paper road maps. You can imagine, these books where the roads printed on paper, and I have to listen the radio traffic stations to avoid traffic jam. Today, using going with a holiday trip without AI, so my Google Maps or directly my navigation, it's undoubtable. You cannot imagine that one, and even see if technology cycles becoming much more faster. I really predict that in the next 5 years, company like Bayer, so huge enterprise, will not be able to manage any talent decision or talent transformation without the support of an AI. We will rather ask ourselves in 5 years how we even try to do it without AI navigation of transformation. So, and this is something which there was understood by the manager, because they said we have talent management solution. Why we need a new one? So it's not a new one. It's a game changer. It's definitely changed the way of working and the way of how we can transform and identify the talents. Sorry.
I love this, by the way, and I love hearing the family in the background. So Bernd, I think what you described is so interesting because, fundamentally the employee journey historically has been, let me figure out how to navigate my own career. Let me ask other people, and people will give me their perspectives based on their own paths. And then there's an inherent bias on my path is the best path, is the right path. And that is, that is the analogy to the paper, the paper maps is so great, because you kind of find your own way and you follow a pre-described path. And what you're describing with AI or talent data or data currency is, in the map analogy, using global data or crowdsourced data that is real time, that is updating, self-updating, and helping navigate you in a direction that you may not have even thought was the right direction to go, whether it's going off the freeway and taking some of the side roads to bypass an accident that your paper map can't tell you. And it may seem circuitous, but actually is a better way to get from point A to point B. And just like careers, no two paths are exactly the same, right? No two driving paths are the same. At different points in time, they differ quite reasonably. And so I love that analogy. I'm going to steal it. I will always reference back to you for it. And I love your stories, by the way. Keep them coming. Because I do think it's a helpful way to then think through, the next generation, and tying back to what Chloe talked about, the expectation that maybe some people who started in the workforce 2, 3, 4 decades ago have versus those who are just starting, in terms of what their career management or career sort of trajectory or aspirations look like. Those are fundamentally different. And Chloe, I know you've done some work on this with the Deloitte Workforce Trends. Can you talk about the multi-generational approach to technology and to talent and career trajectories?
Well, I think I love that example, Bernd. That was spot on. I think what we are seeing is, the same shift is happening right now with the workforce, and the workforce is expecting experiences to be created for them. They're not expecting a track and a map where it's going to be, follow one path and follow one direction. They're really anticipating to see that their career as a series of experience that they can go in one direction, they can try something out, they can go in another direction, and they very much see the contract that they have with their employer as a relationship, as a two-way relationship, where it's something where the cycle of experience and relationship continues to be actualized as they go through their series of experience. And what is also really interesting is we're at the point where we have different generations coexisting within the workforce, where we still have, very traditional, very kind of top-down ladder oriented career that exists. And at the same time, organization needs to quickly adapt to be able to bring experiences to certain jobs and to certain roles. So what we see in a lot of our clients is actually they pick pockets of an organization that have been more ripe to some of these disruptions. So let's take, data science, computer science, computer engineering area that are really prime for like new talent model, new ways of thinking, new experimentation, much more open to also collaborating with external ecosystem. And they take that as a field of experimentation to really design new career experience, while at the same time, certain part of the organization that are much more anchored on a traditional way of delivering value continue to exist in that more ladder and traditional way of organizing. So we see very much this flow kind of happening at the same time in the organization, which I think, when we think about journeys of, again, transformation or journeys of adoption, it really helps to have pilots and pockets where you're really experimenting, trying to find the right solution, while at the same time thinking about scale and thinking about piloting with scale in mind. So we see these movements really happening at the same time, and really this shift from, again, career ladder to career experience, workforce hiring trajectory to really workforce experience, total rewards to total relationship, and we see that happening in every part of the HR organization. Again, whether we think about mobility, learning is a big part of that. Also, how do you manage learning in the flow of life so it really meets the experience of your workforce, and what do they need at the moment where they need to deliver new value, acquire new skills, etc. So we see that happening slowly in all the pockets of the HR value chain, and kind of slowly taking hold in the rest of the organization.
When you talk about experiences like that, what I immediately think of is, the constriction of the existing frameworks like a resume, where people typically take, 1 or 2 or 3 years of experience and distill it down to 2 or 3 bullet points that's supposed to communicate what they did. And I don't know how, it's such a short sell for what someone has actually done or is capable of. And the shortcuts that we take, on the recruiting side or on the hiring manager side, are to look at the names of the companies and the titles, like names of companies, titles, maybe pedigree, and so on and so forth, and then make judgments. And that's going to be the way you describe the diversity of work experiences and the way that the next generation is thinking about it. That non-linearity of a path, Baron was talking about, the track that you're on, do this for 3 years, then you get promoted, and so on and so forth. That's very quickly going away if it hasn't already gone away. And so rationalizing those data to understand the rich context of those experiences, and then, Baron, to then apply them, that's just not humanly possible, right? You need to have an assistant. And that transformation of workforce experiences is happening generationally today. And Baron, what you're describing is AI is also sort of helping us learn how to do that and learning with us along the way. And how is, I guess, Bayer's been around for a long time. There are a lot of people who've been at Bayer for a long time, and there's a lot of new employees as well. So how do you bridge that gap internally in terms of adoption of these types of technologies and new ways of thinking?
Yeah, so one part is the success stories we get now with the AI technology to identify talents which was not on scope or not on the radar, not on the screen, because they have made experience in a area A, and they have usually worked on their career in AAA or only HR, and they never thought about what is the opportunities outside. And now with the help of such kind of technologies, these employees can also, in a self-service way, so in the career hub, we use that one, can let the AI help them to make a prediction, a potential prediction, which can be a next career step. And that is not only a position which is still open, it could be also in the terms of a short-term project assignment to gain new experience. And these is in the network. If you also see the career inspiration opportunities in such kind of an AI technology, is quite impressive. And really, a lot of the people who are using the first time, they're blown away. What is a nice, easy to use and an understandable way to make a career future opportunity for me and help me to strengthen my skills, to find new ways and help me in my career. And this is what is really good perceived. And take these examples and use it also internally as people as talking about those kind of opportunities a lot, not officially but unofficially, and you're on the floor and in the kitchen, and even now in the COVID times, the people are talking also a lot with outside the business. So even for those kind of technologies, and these gives you then the boost, right?
You know, it's the thing that I find where we circled around a little bit is the integrated experience of development. You know, we talked a little bit about apprenticeship, we talked about new jobs, projects, mentors, LMS, and really integrating all of those into a holistic experience that helps deliver what someone needs when they need it. Because again, not everyone's on the same path, right? Maybe someone's not looking to accelerate in the next 12 months, but maybe the 12 months after that they are. But that integrated experience is one that, you know, Chloe, as you described, people want served to them, right? Employees want served to them, not necessarily, let me go try to stitch this together. Let me go find the right course that's going to help me understand it. Let me find the right project that can apply experiential learning against. And there's something here about this flywheel of then creating an internal network, whether it's mentors or projects or so on and so forth, that cross geographies, business units, and so on and so forth. That Baron, I think, probably is a flywheel for helping achieve some of those goals of internal mobility being, you know, maybe, and I'm going to put some words in your mouth, being a bigger maybe area of focus or opportunity than talent acquisition. And there's a lot of indirect byproducts of that.
Yeah, absolutely, and also the way around. So even first time as we use these technology, recruiters were able to source internally, which was quite new for them because they have no idea what is the talents about in Bayer. And now recruiters can really approach to internal employees and see also a prediction out of the AI. Is an employee perhaps only not actively searching, but still long in a position? And from the AI perspective, it is the right time to ask or to discuss next career opportunities before an external headhunter will approach those people, and we have a higher attrition rate, which we don't want. You know, keeping our best talents internally and give them the opportunity to develop, it's really key. And with the talent flow in the future, so our vision of a total talent flow, we need this transparency, and we need these tools helping us to become better in that space.
And you alluded to this earlier. Some of our own internal bureaucracies preclude us from doing this, right? You must be in seat for 26 months or 34 months or what have you before applying for an internal role. And, you know, I think this actually helps challenge some of those, you know, some of those traditional ways of thinking about talent development and talent growth. And you know, it reminds me of, we were just doing some research on our data recently, and there was an interesting finding about career pathing and career trajectories. And the example that really struck me was that product trainers, one of the most successful paths into being a product trainer for a technology company is actually a middle school math teacher, because they take complex concepts, they distill them down, they communicate them to a group of 20, 30, 40 people who may or may not want to be there, may or may not be distracted, and they have to, then they have to ensure that those people leave with those data or that information. Now, most middle school math teachers, they don't go applying for product trainer jobs, so there's a self-limitation there, right? When we think about bias and self-assessment and limitation, and very few recruiters that I know that recruit for product training roles think, let me go to the local middle school and see if there's any teachers who would want to. So right, you know, just even within that simple example, you see the bias on both sides. That when you boil it down to skills, and you know, Chloe, you're talking about sort of this skills currency or talent currency, it broadens the horizon fairly dramatically when you get away from the title or the company and just think about the role, the skills, what have I built and what have I gained. And so, you know, I know we have roughly 10 minutes left and a couple more questions to get through, but Chloe, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about some of that transition in the way that people are thinking about diverse experiences as a component of diversity, right? Not necessarily gender, ethnicity, culture diversity, which of course is forefront for a lot of companies and organizations today, but then there's also an experience diversity. And I know you've done some work on that, so I'd love to hear a little bit about it.
Yeah, I think if I take even 10 years ago when I joined Deloitte, I mean, it's the different career paths that people could have were limited. It was something that was exceptional or different. Pretty much everyone that would be recruited was, coming from a very, very similar pattern and path. And it's actually really interesting. I did a panel earlier this week with Cornell MBA, and they have now a tech MBA that actually combines computer science and data science and MBA to try and create that kind of more diverse profile and really bringing it together, because that's the secret sauce, right? It's a secret sauce of curiosity, ingenuity, really being passionate about something, and that can come from any field and any background. It's kind of that enduring human capability, this enduring human attributes that can reside in any of the talent that we look for. And then there are the technical skills and the things that you learn in school. Well, now we know that the average life of a skill is very short, and the more technical you are, the more this average life of a skill is getting reduced exponentially. And so you need to have curiosity, appetite to continue learning. And again, it's not necessarily something you learn in school. You talked about network. Now we have technology that makes network that you usually gain when you go through a traditional school and profile, and you grow in your career. That's where you gain your network. Now technology made network is accessible to you and part of your journey as well. So, what differentiates a good candidate from a candidate that would be average, it is really something that's uniquely human, that you cannot measure necessarily through, a traditional way of assessing skills and looking at their trajectory as a talent. And so I think more and more organizations are, realizing that and, asking themselves, like, what is truly differentiated that would make a great leader in our organization? And when you ask, leaders that question, it really comes down and boils down to the same thing: ingenuity, being able to deal with ambiguity, being creative, being curious, being eager to learn, being able to flex around, being able to open new horizon. And again, that's not something you learn in a normal career path. And so more and more, leaders are looking for these unicorns to grow this organization. And thankfully, unicorns are not unicorns anymore, because there is that opening of how we can access talent that's making finding the unicorn something a bit more easy. The other piece is, it used to be very complicated to deal with internal systems, to, be able to find data within HR, to be able to find data within your ecosystem. You had to pay a lot of money for, external sourcing organization to find, some very unique skills. Again, now technology makes it easy and accessible for you when you have the right data to be able to source that information. And so that's really lifting up the whole talent market internally, externally, for candidates as well as for employers.
Let me tell you one example or one point for that. In my gut feeling, so at the moment at Bayer, only 20% of the employees working in that area, which they have made an education or a training on. Yeah, so we have a hell of people from science, from chemical, from biology who are still working in HR or in controlling or in marketing. So there's really a flow. And if you think about the average working part of 40 years, yeah, so we're changing the jobs a lot, between 3 to 5 years in a position within the Bayer. So, and even in this flexibility, we see those kind of what you are mentioning, so learning capabilities, adopting, flexibility, agility, all these soft skills, which then is something where we can see potential for the future, right?
Well, that seems like a great end cap. I know we have about 5 minutes left and want to give the audience some time back. Baron, Chloe, as always, it's such a learning opportunity to spend time with you and to sort of see the global view, and then actually the practitioner, how do you put this in place and how do you sort of parse this out? So thank you so much for spending time with us and schooling us. For all of you who are attending today, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time and engagement. And Ryan, with that, I'd like to close maybe and send it back over to you.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that insightful presentation. Now, if we couldn't attend to your questions, the team at Eightfold may follow up with you after the presentation. And I want to thank you all for participating in today's webinar. You will be receiving a follow-up email from Xtalks with access to the recorded archive for this event. A survey window will be popping up as you exit, and your participation is appreciated as it will help us to improve our webinars. Now, I'm about to send you a link in the chat box, and here you'll be able to view a recording of this event on this page, and you can also share this link with your colleagues when they register for the recording here as well. So I do encourage you to do that. Now, please join us in thanking our speakers, Chloe Domergue, Bernd Schmitz, and Mahir Gandhi. We thank you for coming, and please come again. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.